Hi guys, Corey here. Welcome to the kitchen. As you can see over my shoulder, the first snow of the season has started to fly here in North Idaho. And you know what that means. That means it's time to can some venison. So stand by, I'm going to share with you step by step how to can your next deer. Okay, so we're talking about canning venison. This process will work for any meat, whether it's poultry, lamb, beef, pork, but today we're talking about venison. So why do we can? Well, for one thing, it's a dying art. This is the way our grandparents used to do it. My mom used to can venison, and my memories of venison after church, coming home and having it ready to go, priceless. Always had an appreciation for canned venison. But we can because it's convenient, for one. Imagine coming home, Mom. You open a jar, you throw it in the pan, and you add whatever you want. You've got an instant meal. For example, we'll come home, throw this in a pan, add some barbecue sauce, and we have pulled venison sandwiches. Or you have, with some spices and some tomato sauce, you have sloppy joes. You put this in a pan, add some peppers and some onions, you have taco meat, which is our favorite. Mix it with mayonnaise. You have a venison salad sandwich, similar to what you would have with mayonnaise and tuna, or mayonnaise and chicken for chicken salad, tuna salad. Just endless ways that you can use this convenient meat. It's cooked already, you just got to heat it up. Another fun way to eat it is just put it in your eggs in the morning. Okay, another reason we can, it's preservation. This stuff will sit on a shelf forever. I've literally had canned meat 5-6 years from the time it was canned, and it tastes like the day it was canned. It will stay on a shelf, if you do it right, forever. Don't need to freeze it, just need to keep it in a cool, semi-dark place, just in your cupboard, and it will preserve forever. No electricity needed. Okay, so that's why we can. So let's talk about how we do it. For one thing, you're going to need jars. I know, we put it in jars and we call it canning. I don't know the answer. But you're going to need a pint jar. As we're going to demonstrate here, this is a pint. You'll see that it's a Kerr jar. Kerr, Ball, they're all the same company. I don't know why they make a different name brand, but they're all owned by the same company. So you need a pint jar, lid rings, and lids. As you can see, we got Ball and Kerr brand here. Let me show you the lid. You can get these items here at a Walmart, pretty much anywhere. Here in North Idaho, they have this stuff in all the supermarkets. Depending on where you live, that may or may not be the case. But here, give you an example of the lid. You have an orange rubber gasket. This thing has to be warmed up, so I boil it before I put it on the jar. Once that softens, it makes for a better seal on top of the lid. And when you clamp these down, we'll show you a little later how to do it. There's your process. So lids include the rings and the jar. Next, you're going to need seasoning, salt, pepper, and garlic. We like to use a pinch of salt, pinch of pepper, and a half a clove of garlic. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon of each. Except for the garlic, I'll cut that in half, kind of open up the flavors, put it at the bottom of the jar, and then put the meat on top of it. An easy way to go, if you don't want to go that route, is just go to Costco or get your favorite seasoning. I like to use the sweet mesquite seasoning, the Kirkland brand. Gives it a smoky, sweet flavor when you put it in the can, and that is an awesome alternative. Incidentally, when you're talking about using salt, guys, you don't want to use table salt that has iodine in it. It will cloud your jars, gives it that cloudy look. You want to use pickling salt. So, yeah, if you're going to can, use pickling salt. Not going to kill you, it's just going to ruin your jars. You're also going to want a pressure cooker. So I don't use anything special, guys. This is a Presto. It'll hold it'll hold 16 of these pint jars. It'll hold 7 quart jars, and it will hold 24, if I'm doing the math right, 24 of the half pints. But in this case, we're doing pints, and this one here I think cost me somewhere under $100 at Bed Bath & Beyond with a coupon. several years ago. I know there's different brands out there. I just don't use them. I just use this simple Presto. Has a old-fashioned wobbler and a manual reed that we will look at later. So that's your pressure cooker. Pardon me, I don't know the model number. And the star of the show is the venison. So yesterday morning, my daughter Kaylee harvested this deer. We got it into the garage, and the nice thing about North Idaho in the mid-November is the temperatures at night drop down around 35 degrees, and that's what it was last night. So we got it skinned and gutted and hung it in the garage overnight, and it firmed up just great. So I spent the morning cutting it up. There's about 25, maybe 30 pounds of meat here, all cut into 1x1 squares. That makes it easy to pack. Incidentally, this family usually gets 3-4 deer a year. We always can one of them. That gives us about 25-30 of these. That'll last us a whole year. Then another deer we will grind up. Gives us about 25-30 pounds of ground deer. And the other deer we will make jerky out of. And yes, this family will go through 25-30 pounds of deer jerky real quick. Okay, so there's your meat. As you can see, it's very healthy. There is no fat in this, guys. It's like 95 or greater all meat. There's no fat in it. Very healthy for you. So let's get to it. So let's talk about the jars and how to sanitize them. You do not want to have any contaminants in your jars when you go to can. That's just a recipe for bacteria and bad things. So what I do is I put my jars in our dishwasher. Our dishwasher has a very hot sanitizing mode on it that I will put these jars in, and it sanitizes them and gets them ready for the canning process. So very important that you sanitize your jars. If that is not an option for you, you can soak the jars in a bleach soap water solution. I usually do a 10-to-1 bleach solution with some soapy water in there. I'll rinse them out really well, and then they will be ready to go. Okay, so that's sanitizing the jars, very important. So while you're stuffing the jars full of meat, getting ready to cook them, you're going to want to have your pressure cooker boiling 3 quarts of water. I've already put 2 quarts in there. As you can see, there's a quart right there for a total of 3 quarts. Get that water boiling and it'll be ready to go. So like I told you, I like to cut my garlic cloves in half. As you can see, it opens up the flavor of the garlic. We are a garlic eating family, so that's why we put garlic in our jars. You can flavor your jars however you see fit. That's the fun part about all this. So we have 16 of our jars. They have been sanitized and cleaned. They are ready to have the delicious goodness put into them. So we're going to put a half clove of garlic at the bottom of each of these jars. My basketball skills growing up come in really handy here. All of these are a slam dunk. And like I said, I usually do a pinch, which is a 1/4 teaspoon. This is pepper. We like the coarse ground pepper. Between the garlic, the pepper, and the salt, gives it that pot roast flavor. And I like to put the spices at the bottom of the jar because as the water boils in the cooking process, it moves the spices up and through the meat. So again, canning and pickling salt. We don't want to use table salt because of the iodine. Much better than your canned tuna and chicken and beef that you get in the store that has all that salt in it. This is just a little bit of salt. Okay, now that we've got all the spices in the bottom of the jar, we are going to pack the jar. I've been using the term stuff jar, stuffing the jars. These are not sausages, so we are not going to stuff them. These are jars, so we're going to pack them. And this is called the raw pack method. So again, jars are clean. I'm going to take a break, go over and wash my hands, and I'll be right back. Okay, hands are washed. And again, guys, everything needs to be clean. It's incredibly important that we don't have any bacteria in this process. So I have a funnel here. It helps to gauge how much meat goes in, keeps the spills down. So we're just going to go ahead and pack these jars now. It's real simple. You're going to want to pack it to about 1 inch below the top of the jar. Similar to that. And it's give or take a little bit. And we're just going to go through and do that with all the jars. Again, what a lost art this is. If we can go back to some of the old school ways of doing things, I think we'll only be blessed for it. And that is one of the things that we really enjoy about our North Idaho lifestyle is we can and freeze a lot of our own food from the garden and meat. We raise our own lambs, hogs, steer, and we harvest our deer every year. Don't harvest elk as much as we used to. It's just we really have a lot of meat. So yeah, it's a good lifestyle. So packing the jars. I'll finish this up. Okay, so there we have it. The jars are all filled up approximately 1 inch below the top. The other nice thing I didn't mention about the funnel is by putting on top of the jar, it keeps the meat from touching the rim of the jar. Because it's important when you go to can that the rim of the jar has all the remnants moved off. So we're going to take care of that right now. So as far as the lids go, these lids come 12 to a pack. We have 16 jars. So we're going to need these 12 and then 4 more. 2, 4. And we're going to put it in this bowl and then we're going to pour boiling water over it to get those gaskets heated up. And I like to put the gaskets alternating up and down. It just makes them easier to get out when the water's hot. Alternating best I can. They tend to stick together if you don't alternate them. Okay, I'm going to go get the boiling water. You can hear it boiling up behind me. So we're going to pour that over those lids, get those orange gaskets all warmed up. Okay, when it comes to sanitizing the jars, I like to use an apple cider vinegar. The vinegar acid in it helps to neutralize and clean off the rims. The rims should be clean. We haven't touched them, but you never know. So I just take a paper towel and get a little bit of vinegar on there like that. And then wipe each rim systematically with the vinegar to make sure there's no oils or contaminants on there, because we want a tight seal when we do the lids. You also want to be checking on these jars to make sure there's no chipped edges. You know, the glass hasn't broken off, because that will keep a good seal from happening. Yeah, so love the smell of apple cider vinegar. It's good for so many things. Okay, so jars are all ready to go. Seasonings are on the bottom. They've been packed with the meat. The rims are all clean. Now we are ready for the lids. Again, Okay, a little hot. Again, don't want to touch the sides. And again, you're not going to crank these down. You're just going to seat the rim lids on top of the actual lids, and not too tight, because all the air is going to go out as you cook these, and as they seal and cool, that's what creates the vacuum. So you're going to see little bubbles come out, or you would see little bubbles coming out of the jars. But if you crank it down too tight, it's not going to let anything out. So you're just going to tighten it to where just snug. And in using these lids over and over, guys, you want to make sure that there's no dents or rust on them. That would keep a good seal as well. They tend to take quite a beating year to year. So if you see them dented or rusted to where they won't create a good seal, don't use them. Just gonna waste your time. And at a, we're gonna probably do 30 to 35 jars here today. And maybe one of those won't seal right, maybe two. And those are the ones we get to eat right away. And I've rarely had any of these go bad through the years. When they go bad, you know it. They take on a real dark color, and they'll stink like any other rotten meat. But they just don't tend to rot if you do it right. You can see I'm not tightening these down. I almost got a lot of rust on it. See, it's got some rust through the years. So we're just going to set that aside. And that's it. 16 for the first run. We'll move on over to the pressure canner. Okay, as you can see, the water is boiling, and that means it's ready to go. So I grab one of the jars here, and as you can see, I have a little tool here that, if you use it right, grabs the top of the jar. This comes in real handy when you're done at the end. Keeps you from burning your hand. But yeah, you set them down in the jar, set them down in the cooker like that. So there you have it, 16. We're going to secure the lid. So as you can see, you have an arrow here, and then there's an arrow on the lid. You want to line those two arrows up and then twist. That locks the seal. There's a rubber gasket here that is now compressed. Okay, now that it's sealed, we're going to let it boil for 10 minutes without putting the pressure cap on the vent. There's going to be steam coming out of here for 10 minutes. That's going to get everything nice and warm so that when we do put the pressure on, it'll cook consistently. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, the pressure cooker is steaming out the vent now. We're going to let that go for 10 minutes. I'm going to set our alarm here, and we'll be back. Well, waiting for the timer, we're down to 1 minute. And while we're waiting, and as you look out my kitchen window and see the snow falling again, this is awesome, first snow of the year. We're going to talk about what to expect here. So once the timer goes off, the steam has been coming out the vent tube there for 10 minutes. We're going to put the cap on the vent tube. We put it on there, and we're going to set the time. We're going to let it go up to 11 pounds. 11 pounds on the dial. And once it hits 11 pounds, we're going to set the timer for 75 minutes. There's the timer. So we're going to put the cap on. We're going to let this go up to 11. When that gets to 11, we will set the timer again for 75 minutes. So here we are. It's actually at 12. So we're going to set the timer for 75 minutes. See you in a bit. Okay, so it's been about a half hour after the 75 minutes was done. You need to let the pressure in the pressure cooker go down after the 75 minutes, and that took about a half hour. So we're gonna check the steam. It's gone. And now we're going to open this up. You want to be real careful when you open this. It's going to be really hot and steamy. So I let the steam go out away from me. A little bit of dripping. And oh, the smell. You talk about a pot roast after church. That's what this place smells like right now. So we're going to take one of these out. See how it looks. As you can see, it's boiling. That boiling action right there is going to continue, and then when it's done, it'll seal itself. And you can see we didn't add any water to these. The broth is the broth that was from the meat itself. So that's what you see there. No water at all. It's all broth and very little fat. So we're going to take these out and let them cool. And we're going to pack the next 16 and do another round. So yeah, there you have it. Smells wonderful. So we'll let those cool and get back to you soon. Oh, one of them just popped, which means it just sealed itself. And there's another one. Another one. Another one. Yeah, as these hit cold air, you can hear them popping. And that means they're sealed. So there you have it. They are cooling and boiling as they cool. Each and every one of these has had their little vacuum seal indicator pop. And I'll try to give you an angle of that here. You can see these little pop-up dots. They've all sunk in. If I can give you a little bit of a reflection of it. And once those are all sunk in, that lets you know that they are good to go. Next step, obviously I'm going to do the next round, and I have 14, not 16, so we're going to end up with 30 in total, and one of those is going to get eaten for dinner because I cannot stand this smell and not eat something because it is a wonderful smell. Okay, the moment we've been waiting for. So I dig this out of the jar, still hot. Let me show you the consistency of this, guys. It is just like pot roast. Smells wonderful. So yeah, a little warm yet. Well worth the effort. So you figure we got this in this jar. You can see the broth, guys. You take this is a base for gravy. It is so healthy. There's no fat in this. It's all broth from the meat, no water added. So there you have it. In review, it took me probably to do the 30 jars that we did from start to finish, anywhere from 5 to 6 hours when you include the 2 cycling times of 75 minutes per pressure canner. And then think about this. A resident license here in North Idaho is about $35 between the tag for the whitetail deer and then the license to hunt. $35. We got about 30 pounds out of it. So that's a little bit more than $1 a pound for some of the best meat you can find in North America. This is wild, healthy meat. And doesn't taste gamey, no fat. Hopefully we've encouraged you to go out and can your next deer. I'm gonna have some dinner. Take care now. Bye.